Our student guest has a great story on how the pandemic affected her path in life. I'm pleased to introduce you to this soon-to-be high school graduate, Ilana Payne. How are you doing today, Ilana?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
So Ilana, you were featured on a student panel at NICE K-12 cybersecurity conference this past fall. What got you into cybersecurity to begin with?
So actually, like my whole background story. So my sophomore year, obviously it was COVID year. We were working on a hybrid schedule. And so I had just out of the blue kind of like decided, oh, I'm going to take a cybersecurity class because it'll be like an easy class. I heard this teacher's really fun. She's nice. And so I ended up being the only one in the classroom out of a class
in person.
Yeah, in person. Like it was just me and my teacher, Miss Rice, and this huge classroom with all these monitors and everything. And that was it. And so we spent about half the year like that. And most of my classes have been like that. But so through that, I kind of got like this really good relationship with her because doing virtual as a high schooler it was really difficult to adjust to. And so when I had it just that one-on-one time with her, I could create a bond that I wasn't having with anyone else because there was no one else in my classroom. So between that and then just like the way that we did stuff in the classroom and how even though it was a computer class and it was all virtual, we still got to try new things. And so I learned a lot more from that first year. But it's what got me into it. And so my junior year, I took her third year class because of scheduling conflicts. And I got really involved with her CTF teams. And then we did something called Spotsy Hacks. And I got just really involved with doing cybersecurity and helping our community and teaching the kids around us and being able to compete in like those statewide and like national competitions. And I just figured that I was like, I'm obviously doing really good at this and I really enjoy spending my time on this. So I just figured that it was something that I wanted to do later in life because it came to me easily, but then also I was passionate about it.
It's so funny that initially you were like, oh, this will just be this easy class. I can just, learn all this interesting stuff maybe. And now it's turned into, it's a part of your life. So eventually you became captain of the Cyber Knights club at your school. Can you tell us about your role in that club, kind of what it is and how did you become a leader?
So my official title for the club is the Chief Security Officer. And so we came up with these really cool names and we're like, oh, this will be like I have my CTF name, but this is my club name. Like this is my position. Mm-hmm. And so it's about the equivalent of like a secretary, I guess, in the normal roles. But with the club, I spend a lot of time working on the CTF. So when we're trying to recruit kids from like the freshmen and the sophomores and the younger like classes, I'll sit there and I'll help them like figure out how to use the different resources that they have to complete those challenges and everything. And then also I help tutor them when they need help in her class. But I came into that role because of my junior year. So since we had actually placed, I think, 5th at the Radford CTF, which was like a statewide thing that we had. We placed and then we did NCL this year. But so because that team, we had worked so well together and like, even that it was, for a lot of us, it was our first time competing. We worked so well and we placed like top 5 out of like other colleges and we're going against other high schools and everything. So we just kind of realized that we wanted to bring back the club. And so with COVID, it had made it harder to do our club stuff and everything. But we really just tried to bring it back this year as kind of a unity thing within cybersecurity and our school. And so I came into that because of that team that we had created and like that bond we had created. So we were doing a lot of stuff together last year and then we came into it this year. We're like, we're going to start our club back up again. Like we're going to make it so that our school is like known. Like so that we can get the funding and that we can get the recognition for all of our really good students that we have. And so
you mentioned funding. Do you win money or you do?
Yeah. So with the Radford one, I know that the top, they won like scholarships to go to Radford and everything. And then we're doing like NCL, that one just kind of recognition, but then like we'll do CyberStart and we'll work together on that, and we'll work with her classes, and we'll work with the kids that aren't even actually in cybersecurity. So it's like the normal population of our school, and we want them to be able to try something new. And then they get like, we'll give them a prize for it, but then also we're getting those numbers add up and we'll get funding for it. So like Virginia has put forth this initiative for it, so that like the top ranking in CyberStart are getting a bunch of money for their funding in their cybersecurity programs.
Wow. Okay. So you get money.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Money.
Yeah. But a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of people at your school, but I've read through a lot of newsletters, and Spotsylvania like keeps popping up. Yeah. So I feel like you guys are really well recognized, in that regard. Would you say that's probably because of your teacher, or is it a combination, the teacher and the dedication of the students? Because you mentioned, how you guys are dedicated to putting your team at the top, right?
I think a lot of it started, obviously our dedication, but a lot of us have a lot of love for Miss Rice, and we have she has just a huge following within the school. So she is so well known outside of the school, and she has so many connections outside that she allows us to be able to grow into what we have been growing into. And so I think a lot of our dedication and our work towards it have come from, oh, look at us, look at our teacher. She's really trying for us. She wants to put in so much work for us. And we just want to kind of pay it forward. So we want to get that recognition. We want to win that money for like the program in our school. And we want to see it grow, because we find our own love within it. But then if we can get it to grow more and more, then it'll just become like everybody will learn about it, and everybody will learn to somehow love it.
Some people might see that as part of a problem, though, like getting more and more people into cybersecurity, because they might have the perception that, we're training all of these kids to be hackers, right? What do you say to that?
I think it's just plainly false. Like a lot of cybersecurity, we're not training them to be hackers, but even it's just like a cyber basics class. We're teaching them to be safe on the internet. And so a lot of that has come in when kids are growing up with the internet around them. And so it's something that we need to be taught to save ourselves and our identities and our like everything. So I think it's not necessarily we're teaching them to be hackers. I think we're teaching them to be safe within like online.
So I know that we've talked previously about this. We've talked at NICE, as I mentioned that you spoke there, and you told me you want to pursue business and cybersecurity together in your studies after you graduate. Why do you think that's the best career path?
So originally, when I went into high school, I was thinking I was just going to get a business degree. And then after my sophomore and junior year, I was like, I want to pursue cybersecurity with it. I want to be able to do some sort of change within the cybersecurity world, but then also using that, I guess, that business aspect. But I really wanted to have a part of my life be in cybersecurity. And so that's kind of the point of like my double major, because in my mind, like I really couldn't decide, but I wanted to do both. And so I'm still trying to work on like figuring out exactly what I want to do with it, but I want to be able to further both of them. And especially like since I have such a huge love for cybersecurity in my heart, I know that I want to see it grow. So whether that's changing it within the industry itself or changing it within how we're teaching kids, I want to see it further itself.
I love that idea of combining cyber and business. And I really feel like cybersecurity can kind of go with a number of other different topics. I think it's really helpful in general, as we already talked about. But at NICE, your teacher, Miss Rice, she was there teaching how to break locks. And Thomas Weeks, he was there from the Virginia Cyber Range, and he had a challenge set up for the Capture the Flag event. And for this challenge, you had to sniff a router, which doesn't involve using your nose, as many of you may know, but actually involves capturing the packets of data moving to and from the wireless router that he had set up. And within those packets was
the flag.
The flag. So in order to do this challenge, you needed some knowledge of, Kali Linux, which is the essential brand of Linux for any cyber novice, right? The command line and some Wireshark, which is a program that helps really visually organize the overwhelming amount of information within the packets sent through the air and sent through the wire. So I know you, I know me, and you, like me, also like working with Wireshark. So tell us about how you felt about this challenge and the CTF overall.
So since I had some experience with CTFs, I obviously really wanted to try it when we got there. But I think the sniffing was like a really cool experience, because as like a normal person in a normal day life, like I'm not going to be able to just sniff some Wi-Fi and like find data from it.
It's not like you get permission to like sniff somebody's router.
That's not on my
You shouldn't be doing that in ordinary life. Let me just put that disclaimer out there. So yeah, go ahead.
And so I thought it was just a really cool experience, because it was something where I could apply it, like the stuff that I had learned. So when I used Wireshark in the past, like I just used it to like analyze the data and see what was going through and everything, but using it with like Wi-Fi and finding through that router and like using all the packets to find the flag and seeing kind of like a real world purpose for it was really cool, because in like our classes we'll use VMs, and those are like virtual machines, so that's like in a contained environment. But this, we got to use it like in person. Like I saw like what people do, what hackers like do in the real world, and I got to kind of use it, and it was a really cool experience for me to learn in a different way about cybersecurity.
I agree. We experienced firsthand, I think, also in terms of the conference Wi-Fi, because I think we had used it the previous day. We're like, I wonder why around this time, like the Wi-Fi is just really slow. And then the next day we did the challenge with sniffing the router. I'm like, I think I know why. It was so slow yesterday. So also at NICE, you made a really amazing point at the end of the interview that gained a lot of applause. And I think a lot of people share this, which is that, we don't need textbooks, right? We need all these experiences, these hands-on experiences in the classrooms. And that's really what we need to help move cybersecurity forward. And I feel like the router sniffing challenge, that was empowering, like you mentioned, because it was really easy to see how hackers gain our information, because they do the same things. And once you do it yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, this is how they do it. So with that in mind, how do we use that knowledge to secure our own personal systems?
So obviously that taught me a lot about like just connecting to a Wi-Fi, just and not being secure enough with like not using a VPN and not keeping my own stuff like together. And so it kind of just showed me how easily my data is accessible, like how easily I could just lose everything. And so realizing how influential that was, like it kind of scared me in a bit, because it was like, oh my gosh, like these people just do this. Like I could be at a coffee place and they could just steal all my data. And so it taught me to be more careful about like my connections and how I just connect to like the Wi-Fi just willy-nilly. And so teaching a lot about that, but then also it kind of reminded me of what we learned in my cyber basics class about being safe on the internet. And so it kind of just reapplied that to my real world, like living.
Ilana, I want to thank you so much for giving your time, and we wish you luck on the next chapter in your life.
Thank you.